The paid-in capital is it has to do with your shares. If you issued shares to investors and you had like a par value, it's a little bit, geeky to go into it, but the thing is, it's real. But you have par value that your shares are issued at, and say that you valued your shares at $10 a share. But what you actually do then, excuse me, that's me. It's an accountant telling me the answer. No, the thing is that you have shares that you sold back to the public, or you sold to the public for more than the worth that you declared they were. They were $10 for you, but you actually sold it to people for $20, right? That's $10 extra per share you get to put into paid-in capital. That's something that you can work out with your accountant and get a further explanation on. What I wanted to stick to is really those core specific things that you as an owner and manager of your business should understand at least in order to begin operating your business. You don't have to do your bookkeeping, but you really need to understand it. Otherwise, you have two businesses going on. The one that's really happening and the one that you really would love to happen. And you need to make sure that those are the same business. And one of the best ways to do it is not only be kind of talking to your customers, getting that good gut instinct feeling that entrepreneurs are amazing at having about how are things going, what's the next move I should make, what do people want, but also, am I making money as I'm making people happy? So now the last slide is an invitation to a small business development center near you. Ours happens to be in LaGuardia Community College in Long Island City, and this is our contact information. I would like to suggest that instead of giving out business cards today, that you please copy this information down. My name is Brian Gursky. I'll go ahead and I'll write down my...
You're going to post this, correct?
I'm sorry?
This will be posted on the site?
You know what? I believe it will. Yes, it will. So can everybody read my font? Of the Small Business Development Center. Now, and if you would like an appointment, though, I invite you to be able to call our main number and set an appointment with one of our 3 counselors. We speak Spanish, English, and Chinese in our office, and we're happy to spend as much time with you as you would like. Oftentimes, people will come to us because they need help preparing their financial statements, reviewing their financial statements for a lender, for an investor, for themselves. And we also help with market research, helping you to think through your business plan, educating you on what are the basic distinctions between legal structures, and helping to give you some frameworks to work with when it comes to operating agreements and other important relationships that you have in business. Any other final questions? Are we doing okay, Brian? Yes?
Let's say you're starting a business and you're selling not a traditional product that's new. You come up with like an insane toy idea, for instance. Doing projections for that are very difficult and often don't work out the way you expect. How would you go about that?
And yet they must be done. I understand. So what you're doing is basically it's an insane, I guess, meaning no comparable thing out there like that, right? And what?
Look at something like a pet rock or a chia pet. How do you do a projection for a chia pet? How do you really have any idea?
You would have to, there's something that is said out there oftentimes by a new entrepreneur very excited about what they're doing, and that's that I have no competition, right? Which is not the case. Even a bar must compete with your couch. So the thing is, there's always a supplement or an alternative to what you're offering the market. And so you can either look at what you're up against in terms of the competing product, even if it's not exactly the same as what you're doing. But you actually may be able to find other like-kind items out there that might have a similar behavior to what yours is. At the end of the day, it's a decision. This is an art, right? You don't come out to some calculated formula, and the chia must be compared to the pet rock, right? Which then must be compared to the scooters. You know, the thing is that you have to make a decision, the best judgment you can on, you know what, I think my product is going to have a very similar behavior to this other. And I can find data on that. Just go down to the SBDC, or I go down to the business library on 34th and Madison in the city, and I can get some sample financial statements. I can get some projected business plans from these places to kind of learn a little bit about what my financial projections might look like. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to drill down closer to that possible truth, that possible reality. And then all of it is in your assumptions, in your explanations, in your financials. You know, they're going to look at your pet, I don't know, pet brick. And, you know, and they're going to say, like, how did you come to this conclusion about the sales? You're like, well, I'm glad you asked, let me explain it to you. Versus just like, you know, that doesn't go very far. So you really need to have an explanation and some method behind the madness.
How do you, let's say you did projections, but you do creative services, someone's not doing a creative product. How do you access, let's say, sales information of a similar company that you could use, that could, when you go to the bank, that will be able to verify what your projections are? Is that public information that you could access companies' financial?
Only if they're publicly held.
Of course. So how do you, so how do you do that? I mean, you've got to justify. You're going to put it together. They want to know, how did you come to that? Well, I got a competing product that's similar, but where do you get that information from?
There are sample business plans that we often use at the Small Business Development Center of companies that are as close to the one of our client. And it may not be a company that is actually out there and existing, but there are different networks that produce these sample business plans that give sample financial projections like that. Those can be helpful to an extent. Oftentimes what I find out to be very helpful is your own observation of those companies. You know their prices, you call around to the suppliers that you know they might be using or that you want to use, and you begin getting an idea of kind of like what that sales figure looks like and the income, just based on what they're charging and how many people they're getting in through the door. And the other part of it is how much these things are going to cost you to deliver. They're sourcing from their IT from another country, and they're doing the web page development. You begin shopping around. You learn a little bit about what that market or that source of expertise is like, and you begin to build your own financial projections from that. It's tricky. It's hard to get an exact amount. But when it comes down to banks getting in depth and analyzing it, it really depends on the lender. It depends on the amount of money. Because really up for loans up to $100,000 to $200,000, it's really largely credit scoring. So, you know, but there are lenders who will look more in detail to that. That's almost kind of another class in conversation. And I think this should be the last question because
you spoke about a couple of different software bookkeeping. That different businesses have different expenses, different revenue streams. How much do those, bookkeeping systems allow us to tweak it without having to spend so much time to start listing? You know, it's almost like doing an Excel spreadsheet from scratch. Are there different bookkeeping systems for different business, for restaurants?
Yeah, there are.
Real estate or manufacturing.
There are accounting systems that have specialized very appropriately for certain industries, and other ones that have kind of knocked themselves out and over-delivered for a particular industry, and you're paying more for what you really need. But there are accounting systems just for restaurants, or like a point-of-sale system that then connects into your regular accounting system. There could be something for service-oriented businesses. E-commerce platforms that you could use. You know, I really think it's a very careful decision, because I would say most general accounting systems accommodate most types of businesses. And sometimes you can adjust it for that particular thing. But then it really depends on what you're doing. It really depends on what you're doing. You have a comment? Yeah.
I just recommend the Book and Business Library not far from here. They have different resources like find what industry you're in, and there'll be some things that will help you to get to those numbers.